Not many singers can mix pop, folk, and country music with amazing words in their songs. But John Denver, an American singer and songwriter, could do all of this easily and even more. He was one of the most popular guitar singers in the 1970s. John Denver made many hit songs famous, like Take Me Home, Country Roads, Leaving on a Jet Plane, and Annie's Song. The last song was written for his wife at the time, Annie Denver. Now, at 78 years old, Annie Denver told everyone the truth about John Denver. She finally answered all the questions people had been asking about the famous country singer who died. It's no secret that many people wouldn't know who Annie Denver is if she wasn't married to her famous ex-husband. She used to work as a school leader and was on TV. She's a really cool person too, which is why it makes sense that the country singer fell in love with her. She was born on September 6, 1946. Her name was Annie Martell, and her parents were Jim and Norma Martell in Minnesota, USA. She has 3 brothers and sisters named Linda, Terry, and Ben. They all grew up going to church. Her whole life, she went to schools in Minnesota. After she finished high school, she went to Aldo's College in St. Peter. That's where she met the famous country singer at that time. Denver was in a music group called the Chad Mitchell Trio when the two people who would fall in love first met. In 1966, Martell was in her second year of college then, and Denver really liked her right away. They met up again a few months after they first saw each other. Martell told more about their first meeting during a 2022 show called The Obituaries with MOA podcast. She shared how her future husband was playing with the Mitchell Trio, right? After that, he played the guitar with a group of people who were putting on a funny little musical show. Martell said she was the girl who carried the signs across the stage in Act 1 and Act 2. She even said that her ex-husband still remembers what she wore that day. It was a pair of blue jeans and a flannel shirt with penny loafers. The two really liked each other and wrote letters to each other. Before they knew it, both were walking down the aisle and got married on June 9th, 1967. They didn't date very long, only 9 months until the couple said they wanted to get married, and then got married right after. Annie's Song is one of John Denver's most popular songs. Right? Let people know who Annie Martell, now Mrs. Denver, was. What makes the song so special is that it has all the things John Denver loved at the time. His love for music, love for his wife, and especially love for nature. Just recently, Annie Denver finally told everyone what we've all been wanting to know about John Denver in this song. It turns out that the now 78-year-old woman who lost her husband still cries whenever she hears this song. Besides this song, Annie Denver also shared that another song she loves is called Perhaps Love. Her ex-husband sang this song with Placido Domingo. Was the song made because of a special moment the two shared together? Different from what most people think, Annie's Song was written after John Denver had a certain life-changing thing happen to him. You see, 1971 was one of the most important years in the country folk singer's career. During this time, he put out Take Me Home, Country Roads, but a few other songs also helped make his career great, including Annie's Song. What happened was that the couple went on a camping trip in Aspen, Colorado, with some friends. Since he loved nature so much, it didn't take long for Denver to fall in love with the place. This place also gave him the idea for one of his other hit songs, Rocky Mountain High. Later, Denver and his wife moved to the place where they built a home and raised their family. But one day in 1973, John Denver came running home, excited by the beautiful things around them. According to Annie Denver, her husband wrote it after one of their many fights, when they stopped fighting to make peace. In a good mood, John Denver left to go skiing. He sat on the Ajax chair on Aspen Mountain. The song just came to him. As soon as he got home, he wrote it down, and not 10 minutes later, it was done. At first, it was a love song, and it was given to me through him. But for him, it became kind of like a prayer, Annie Denver said. It's nice to know that there's lasting proof of the love shared between Annie and John Denver through this song. The couple weren't able to have children naturally, okay, but they adopted a son and a daughter who they both loved with all their hearts. Their names were Zachary, John, and Anna Kate. Sadly, the couple's love did not last long. In 1982, the Denvers asked for a divorce, ending their 15 years of marriage. There are two sides to every story, and we'll look at each person's reason that drove them apart for the country singer. He believes that his success and his commitment to his work really hurt his relationship with his wife. He even said that in the last few years that they were together, the two seemed to have started moving away from each other. Being a popular singer at his best time also meant John Denver had to spend many days on the road doing concerts and shows. This also played a part in his divorce. I think my success and my commitment to the work that I do certainly had an effect on Annie's and my relationship. Denver shared in a 1983 appearance on The Russell Hardy Show. He continued, I think over the last 4, 5, or 6 years, we started moving away from each other. And part of it had to do with how much time we spent not together and the things that I got stuck doing and not being together. Then, when we got back together, we couldn't bend enough to fit the other person's life into our own, compared to the singer. His wife says that the reason for their breakup was because they were too young and not grown up enough to deal with John Denver's sudden jump to being famous. She found his celebrity status and everything that came with it scary. She got to the point where she no longer knew who she was and felt like she didn't have her own identity. Even though they had differences, the couple still split up on good terms. She stayed single to this day while John Denver got married a second time. Did you know? There have been rumors going around that Annie Martell has already died. But there's no truth to it since she's still living in her Colorado home with her children and grandchildren. Even though they were only married for a short time, it's not often we get to see a friendly separation between two people. Annie Martell stayed kind to her ex-husband even after they split up. This is quite surprising, especially if you know the scandals and problems that surrounded her ex-husband, most especially his death, which we'll get to later. Since we've already talked about Annie Martell Denver, it's only right that we also talk about her ex-husband, John Denver. Born on December 31st, 1943, as Henry John Deutschendorf Jr. in Roswell, New Mexico, he came to be known as the famous country music star, John Denver. His parents were Emma Louise and Captain Henry John Dutch Deutschendorf Sr. His father was a really good pilot with impressive records. Growing up, Denver remembered his father as a strict man who was not openly loving to his children. Because of his dad's job, they often moved around a lot. Denver was a shy child in their family. Moving around a lot didn't help. For one, he had a hard time making friends and getting used to their new home every time. The first time they lived the longest in one place was when his father was stationed in Tucson, Arizona. The family lived there from 1951 to 1959. When he was 11, his grandmother gave him an acoustic guitar, which he learned to play by himself. He kept playing, and by the time he was in college, he was good enough to play at local concerts and clubs. At the time, he was still using his real name until the founder of the New Christy Minstrels, Randy Sparks, suggested he change to a different name. He wanted one that was easier to say. Now, going by the name of John Denver, he kept playing even as he went to Texas Tech University in Lubbock while studying architecture. At the time, Denver not only played the guitar, but also sang in a folk music group until he dropped out of school in 1963. He moved to Los Angeles to do music full-time. Denver was playing at folk clubs then, and it took 2 more years before he replaced Chad Mitchell in the Chad Mitchell Trio. They changed the name to Denver, Boys, and Johnson for all 3 members, John Denver, David Boys, and Michael Johnson. A few more years later, Denver left the band and chose to have a solo career. He put out his first album called Rhymes and Reasons under R.C. DeLay Records in 1969. Before this, he made his own recording of some of his songs. One of these songs was called Babe, I Hate to Go, which got the attention of a producer, Milt Oken. It was then changed, which we now know today as Leaving on a Jet Plane. By this time, Oken had also become Denver's producer, along with the folk group Peter, Paul, and Mary. They made the song popular and even got to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Denver's own version also climbed to #1 on the U.S. Cashbox chart in December 1969. What many people don't know about Con Denver is that he did most of the advertising by himself. He went on a Midwest tour, giving out free concerts, and even offered to play for free at local places. He also went to radio stations that were nice to him, knowing he was the person who wrote Leaving on a Jet Plane. He was even allowed to play a song or two on the radio. All of these things helped the country singer have a strong fan base, which kept supporting him even into his later years. Compared to his first album, John Denver's next album, Poems, Prayers, and Promises, which came out in 1971, was a big success. The album broke through the charts, especially Take Me Home, Country Roads. We've talked about how Denver helped make himself popular with local people. But the success of this album is also because of his new manager, Jerry Winninrob. He helped blast his music through a radio airplay campaign, making more people hear his music. John Denver reached new heights, becoming really popular in the early 70s with hit songs Rocky Mountain High, Sunshine on My Shoulders, Thank God I'm a Country Boy, and Annie's Song, to name a few. Winninrob also made sure he had his time on local TV, appearing in as many guest shows as he could until he started hosting some eventually. Rocky Mountain Christmas, his holiday special, was even watched by over 60 million people. It was called the ABC Network's highest rated show at the time. People wanted to see the singer so much that soon enough he had his own BBC series called The John Denver Show. Of course, we can't leave out that the singer also won many important awards, including multiple Grammy Awards and American Music Awards, as John Denver's popularity went down in the late 70s. The singer focused more on doing things to help people and on nature conservation projects. He took part in fundraising projects by performing for the Aspen Camp School for the Deaf and even donated to the Aspen Valley Hospital's $1.7 million capital campaign. He also has the 450-acre Windstar Land Conservancy in Aspen, Colorado. This place not only was his home, but also a safe place for wildlife and a center for environmental education. Of course, you already know that Denver married Annie Martell and divorced her after 15 years. What we didn't mention then was that there was a really extreme thing that happened during the division of their stuff. Denver said then that he was so angry that to show how upset he was about their split, he tried to cut their marriage bed in half with a chainsaw. However, people close to them say that he only did it to get back at Martell. After she cut down a few of the family trees they have in Aspen, it took a few more years before Denver met his next wife, the Australian actress Cassandra Delaney, in 1985. He met her in Sydney, and after a few short years of dating, they got married in 1988, the next year. Delaney gave birth to a daughter named Jessie Bell in May and moved into Denver's Aspen home. But like his marriage to Annie Martell, Denver and Delaney also split up, and their time together was much shorter. They broke up in 1991, with the actress even calling her ex-husband a mean bully. No one really knows for sure. But many believe that Denver's divorce from his second wife caused many of his problems in later years. He was charged with drunk driving for the first time in 1992, the next year. He said he was guilty of a drunk driving charge when he crashed his Porsche into a tree. This put him on probation after he was found guilty of drunk driving. The Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, told him to stop drinking alcohol if he wanted to keep flying planes. Sadly, he didn't do it. The next year, Denver was medically told he couldn't operate an aircraft under his gentle-natured image. John Denver faced a lot of hard times, which led to him using alcohol and drugs for comfort. He had times when he was really sad and was actually not confident despite how he acted in public. He also openly said that he used LSD and marijuana when he wrote Rocky Mountain High, and often faced criticism for being a bad drunk and being fake. He may not be a decorated pilot like his father, but John Denver knew more than a thing or two about flying. He even had a license for it. John Denver enjoyed flying a lot and even took part in a VH1 promotional contest. So, how is it that a man like him had such a tragic end? Was there some kind of sabotage in his aircraft? Keep listening to find out. Before we get to the bottom of this, it's important to understand the background and nature of aircraft first. Like all things, an aircraft is built to be strong and safe. But unlike cars, you can't exactly pull over when you catch fire, right? Aircraft would need more than a couple of minutes to pull over, and by then, simple little bit of gray smoke from the engine could quickly turn into fire. For this situation, an aircraft has a fuel shutoff valve in the cockpit. This lets the fire go away and prevents it from spreading so they can find a field to safely land their plane. John Denver was flying a route in Long Ease, which is a light, home-built aircraft, when it crashed into Monterey Bay near the Pacific Grove in California. This led to his death on October 12, 1997. He was 53. There were many conspiracy theories about what caused the crash. One of the more popular ones is the wrong placement of the fuel selection valve, putting it behind the pilot's left shoulder. It was bad design because it would require the pilot to let go of all controls to shut the valve off. On top of this, there's also his fuel. Some gauges showed whether he was running low on fuel. But because those weren't straight lines and had no markings, it was hard to tell if he barely had any fuel left. In conclusion, his aircraft was truly poorly built, which led to the country singer falling to his death into the ocean. Still, there were other safety things that the country singer failed to check. Make sure we're working with the plane's controls only playing a part in the overall crash. Because of this, John Denver paid the ultimate price. Tess' sad end, he is still celebrated and best remembered today for what he gave to music and helping people that inspired and changed lives. This year alone, his song, Country Roads, Take Me Home, showed up on the Billboard chart after it was featured in a commercial that aired during the Super Bowl. Also, a tribute to the country singer is about to hit the theater on July 10th. This only proves his songs are still important and timeless to this day.